For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, verses 4 and 5. There are a great many distractions out there in the world right now. Many people are fretting over who may invade whom. This has not changed historically. There were those concerns 20 years ago, 100 years ago, and there will be those concerns in the future. The real war is for your mind. The famous British mathematician Bertrand Russell stated, when you are studying any matter or considering any philosophy, ask yourself, only what are the facts, and what is the truth that the facts bear out? Never let yourself be diverted either by what you wish to believe or by what you think would have beneficent social effects if it were believed, but look only and solely at what are the facts. This has been our focus over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where we teach psychological operations, preparing the mind. Many people think it's a secondary concern. It truly is the primary concern. In today's video here on YouTube, I'm going to demonstrate how the simple use of two of the cognitive biases and logical fallacies has caused the destruction of the nuclear family in America. Only two, used in tandem. 24 logical fallacies, just like it sounds. There's a website dedicated to this. 24 cognitive biases. Study these, and you will see something. If you'd like guided study, join us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It's only $1 per month. You see what that $1 does? Is it establishes expectation. When you sign up and you put your money where your mouth is, you then have expectation. And believe me, if I don't live up to your expectations over at Patreon, I'll refund your $1. It's even less than that if you sign up for a year. It's only like 90 cents. So join us. We've been able to partner with Vimeo to do this now without any further delay. What are the two that have caused the destruction of the nuclear family? Well, it's real simple. All you have to do is make the man and the woman believe they don't need each other. It's just that simple. Now, how do you do it? The first thing you have to do is establish a straw man. That's where you take somebody's argument or belief, and then you strip away all of the details, and you get it down to bare bones, a skeleton, and then you fill in your own details, and then you argue against that. Ignore the real argument, create a pretend argument, defeat the pretend argument, and then claim victory over your new pretend argument. Now, that's pretty easy to deal with by itself, but what a lot of people don't count on is the cognitive bias called the backfire effect. When your core beliefs are challenged, it can cause you to believe in them even more strongly. And here's the example, and I know everyone who hears this will have someone in their life, maybe them, that have suffered from this. Over the last week or two, I've been using this example in Colony, a series that's, I believe, out on Netflix. It was originally, I believe, on USA. In the series, and I know it's fiction, but it tells a real story. There's a woman who's forced to make a decision where she has to enter into a relationship with a man. She's lost track of her husband because the man can provide insulin for her son. She doesn't necessarily like the guy, but she doesn't have any other real choice to save her son's life. Now, the show would have you believe that she's doing the horrible, terrible, immoral thing, when nothing could be further from the truth. She's putting aside her own discomfort to take care of her child. And I believe many mothers would probably not want to do this. But here's the argument. Here's what happens. People can take the point I'm making here and deconstruct it into a straw man and say, Florida Maquis thinks that women should sleep with men based solely on their financial ability to provide things. That's not what I said. Florida Maquis thinks women should only use money as a deciding factor when they pick mates. Did I say that? No. But if you can get people to believe that, what are they going to do next? Well, what has been taught to every young woman in this country for the last 40 years or 50 years? Make sure, before you ever get involved with any man, you communicate to that man up front on no uncertain terms that he is not needed. Do not ever let any man, anybody you ever date, believe that you need him. Make sure he knows that you can take care of yourself and you have all of your own needs met, and that he is just an addition to your life, an important addition, a decoration to your life. But that's all. That's modern feminism 101. So then here's the natural reaction to this. Men over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Now, assuming this always to be the case, that they are not needed, that they're just an addition, like an extra room on the house, so to speak. They try to do things to feel needed, to feel important, like they can't be replaced. So what do? They think of scenarios in the future where they have a giant collapse and without rule of law and with end of the world as we know it and shit hits the fan, all this kind of stuff. And they make great plans to prepare for this. And they stockpile food and they create bunkers and they do all this kind of stuff and elaborate scenarios of what would happen if this, what would happen if that. This is all an underlying psychological response to not feeling needed in everyday life. They simply just don't feel needed. Now, ladies, you know what that psychology sometimes leads to? Yep, you're looking at it, because for a brief moment, for a very, very, very brief moment, even if it's fallacious, this is why men sometimes gravitate towards ladies of the night, because the unspoken truth of this is, for that hour or two, he feels needed, even if it's just his money that's needed. It's a poor substitute for actually feeling needed, but compared to the rest of his life, where he's just a decoration, an adornment. You see, they make this picture out in Colony as this perfect, happy nuclear family when nothing could be further from the truth. She's lying to him, she's using him, she's manipulating him. And she's doing everything she can to make sure that he knows he's not needed. And that's why they've made her, Hollywood, made her the heroine. They made her the hero. Some people ask why I have counseled to invest in old folks, in their wisdom. They came from a time when people needed each other. They may not have needed all of the trappings of the world, but they needed each other, and they let each other know they needed each other. See, this little boy had no choice. He needed mom to do what mom did. And believe it or not, for a moment, when you see these two in the series, and I know it's fiction, you could almost relate. Because he knows this isn't some love at first sight thing, but he feels needed. He feels important. See, this is psychological operations 101. All you've got to do is create a false argument. The idea that women should never need men and women should always be independent. Not that that's a bad idea, but to the extent that you push relationships to the point where they're just convenience. Why do you think we have 90% divorce rates? PsyOps 101. Backfire effect, straw man fallacy. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. Here's another great example just in the other direction. Men in prison. Vulnerable. Literally everything stripped away, a pair of flip-flops, and whatever their prison uniform is, cannot do a thing to help themselves, and prison guards, doctors, those in contact with them, feel needed. In this case, Sarah Wayne Callies, once again, plays this character. Now she plays the opposite here. She feels needed. She feels needed, so that feeling of being needed causes people to do things sometimes they wouldn't normally do. Now here's the final icing on the cake. Yesterday, I talked about how we're heading into a new Dark Ages. People have romanticized the Dark Ages. It was a horrible time, but it forced people to admit they needed each other. Men and women especially. The Dark Ages, the early Middle Ages, 500 to 1000 AD, a period in European history when learning and civilization declined. Fear. Rome has fallen, no other central authority takes place, hard subsistence farming life for most. People live in fear of attacks by barbarians and criminals. They had to have each other in their lives. And what did it lead to? The Renaissance. Philosophy, art, literature, architecture, astronomy. Every major standard of beauty that we subscribe to in the modern world was established in the Renaissance. That's the result of this. It's a ways down the road. We have to go through our own new Dark Ages first. But this is why there was the Renaissance. See, we're in the collapse of Rome phase right now, and then there's going to be a Dark Ages where men and women are forced to acknowledge they need each other. And sometimes, this is why yesterday I talked about mercy. People are going to have to get off their high horses and stop judging and start acknowledging we have a need for each other. It's not that we want to be around each other or that we like it or that it's, going to always be rosy and perfect. This was the real story of Colony. It was this little side plot. I think it's why they canceled the series, because they realized if somebody sees this and really analyzes it, they're going to look back. They're going to look back and realize something. Men doing all of this kind of stuff to prepare is just a result of a psychological underlayment of just not being needed in the modern world. So they have to create a world where the modern world is gone. All of the modern conveniences are gone. The collapse of the grid, the collapse of government. To make themselves feel needed. Every man. Every single man. This is how they destroyed the nuclear family. Psychological operations. Would you like to know more? Would you like to join us over at Patreon? $1 to establish expectation. And that's what need does, by the way. It establishes expectations of each other. And I know it seems counterintuitive to what's been taught in the modern world, but it really is the key to success. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Happy Sunday. Like, share, subscribe. Last night there was a fantastic football game on, so we weren't on Twitch. It was kind of later on. We'll see how the games go tonight, but if the second one, the later one, isn't too good of a game, maybe we'll see you guys tonight on Twitch. So hope to see you there too. If not, for sure, we'll be back Monday. God bless. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.